And we send Her Majesty the Queen her very best as she enters her 70th year on the throne and the year of her Platinum Jubilee. So congratulations, Ma'am. But welcome to the Swingland Hertfordshire County Championships 2022 live from the venue here in Boreham Wood. Moving on to session number 11. It's going to be one singular event today in session number 11, the 1500 freestyle. So that's going to be a little bit of a long one, but we've got 3 heats of that for you. But we, of course, have a fantastic team of technical officials. They're led today on the pool side by Sheila Mackenzie. She's also assisted by referees Simon Lever and Murray Devine. And the starter for session number 11 is Gillian Harrington, as we just make the final few adjustments before we begin today's session. And of course you can relive all of the action via the Swingland Hertfordshire YouTube channel, and of course catch up to date with all of the results via the Sports Systems website. Event 601, the mixed open 1500 meters freestyle. This will be swum over 3 heats. Heat 1, referee. So the 1500 meters here, 60 lengths of pure endurance. And let's introduce you to the competitors in heat number 1. We only have 3 swimmers, as you are able to clearly see in the water. In lane number 3, from Watford, Rafferty May. It looks like he is a tier 5 entry. We have Camille Vernier of Hatfield in lane number 4. She's 15, so the eldest competitor in the water at the moment. Her personal best, a time of 20 minutes 18.51, so she'll be aiming to beat that today. And in lane number 5 we have Fraser MacDonald of Hatfield. He's 13 years old and his personal best is a time of 21 minutes 34 seconds .74. So of course all of these swimmers are going to be aiming and aspiring to get a personal best in today's session. So at the 200 meter mark, Camille is just in front, but as you can see, not by very much at all, by about 0.6. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not this distance between Camille and Rafferty in lane number 4 and 3 stays the same, or whether or not as we move through the race that will increase. But over in lane number 5 we have Fraser MacDonald. He's also doing very well at this stage. He is the youngest competitor at just 13, so certainly being a 13-year-old and doing 1500 is, I'm sure, a very daunting task, but he's executing it thus far very well indeed. At the 400-metre mark, then is still Camille in lane number 4, who is in the lead, not by very much, but certainly if you were to look back on the 200-metre mark, that distance has grown a little bit, not by very much though. And I think at that turn, I was completely proved wrong there, because Rafferty seems to be coming back to a very, very similar distance as they turned on in the 200 metres. But you know, 1500 is about making sure that you're pacing it correctly. It's making sure that you're hitting a consistent pace on those 100 metres, no doubt. In training this week, they will have practiced hitting those paces, making sure maybe they've done paced 100 swims, working out which pace, which time is comfortable, which is maybe not so much. And of course, looking at the times, thinking, well, do I want to go at 20 minutes? Do I want to go at 19 minutes? Do I want to go even quicker? And what will I have to achieve? What will I have to hit pacing-wise in order to achieve that? I certainly know from speaking to the coach at Costa that that's what their swimmers have been doing. No doubt other coaches would have done that as well. "39 lengths to go though of this 1500 metres, so we're slowly but surely getting through this race, hopefully coming on to the latter stages very soon. But still in front, it is Camille of Hatfield, 6:57.12. And the time between them, Camille and Rafferty, has not changed. 0.6 in between them. And there is someone who isn't here with us today, but it is we miss him in an incredible amount, Ian Mackenzie, who's unfortunately stuck at home. And our fantastic promoter, Karen Huckle, walking around the poolside with the sign saying, "Hello, Ian." And I think I've just got his wonderful wife, Sheila. And I've just been reliably informed that he is Swim England president still. Now that is, am I right, Sheila? I'm looking over to you for confirmation. He's probably the longest serving Swim England president for an awful long time. 2 years at least. 2.5 years. I do beg your pardon, Ian. But we wish you would be able to be here today, but unfortunately, Karen, you've got to lower it. Karen, come over here, and we'll get your proper camera. But we hope you're enjoying the swimming, Ian, and indeed we hope everyone is enjoying this first heat of the 1500 metres. And of course, after the 1500 metres, we go to the directly opposite event. We go to the relays, which are going to be fast and furious. I'm sure many here were here yesterday and enjoyed those relays and enjoyed the excitement and enthusiasm and energy. And of course, if you're here on the poolside, the atmosphere. So stay tuned for those relays. Ian, can you see Karen? There she is. But at the 800 metre mark then, so we are over halfway for Camille and Rafferty. They're touching at 800 metres, 10 minutes, 8.3 seconds. And Rafferty in second still, 10 minutes, 0.9.1. So obviously they don't know, but their coaches by this point will know what pace they're going on, whether or not they're hitting that pace, hitting that in order to achieve that target, that ambition for their time. But as you can see, not much divergence here from either of these two swimmers in lane number 3 or 4. And of course, our youngest competitor, now he's turning on to his 29th length. So he is over halfway. That's Fraser McDonald of Hatfield over in lane number 5. So looking back there, he certainly will be relieved, one would have thought, to be over halfway. But if we head back towards the front at the 900 metre mark, Camille is still in the lead. It has shrunk though by about 0.4, so still all to play for here in this first heat on Sunday the 23rd of January. And goodness gracious me. In lane number 3, Rafferty May of Watford here. He is breaking away as it has been perfectly described by our referee. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that for white of neutrality, but hey. At the 1,300 metre mark, only 8 lengths to go, 200 metres to go. Rafferty May, though, he is starting to break away here, putting a little bit of distance between himself and Camille Vernier of Hatfield. Over in lane number 3, we will of course see what that difference is at the turn on this end with 100 metres to go. No, it won't. It'll be 150, won't it? It's not a 50 metre pull. And there is this difference there, about 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds between Rafferty and Camille. So that certainly has grown from the 0.8 seconds we saw in the first 200 metres. 5 lengths left to go for these two in this 1500 metre, in the first heat of the 1500. But Rafferty still looking quite strong, maybe a little bit laboured, maybe a little bit tired. But that certainly is understandable as a result of 56 lengths of swimming thus far. That gap there, still about 3 seconds between Rafferty and Camille. Now there's no time recorded for Rafferty. He has a tier 5 entry, so unfortunately I don't have his personal best, but I'm sure from the facial expressions from him when he finishes, and indeed from his coach, we will find out whether or not that is a pleasing time for him. But Camille's time is 20.18.51, and we're coming into the final 50 metres here. The officials at the start again, now blowing their whistles to make the competitors aware that there is only 2 lengths left to go. We're on the final closing stages here for Rafferty and Camille in 3 and 4. And you can really see that all of this energy now, all of this excess energy is being used up in these final 2 lengths here. Rafferty, final 5 metres for him. He's going to be touching on a time of 16 minutes, 47.85, so that's a very good time for here. And Camille, she smashes her personal best there by about a minute and a half, if not more. 18 minutes, 51 seconds, 0.84, so congratulations to her. And as we look towards lane number 5 with Fraser McDonald of Hatfield, he has 7 lengths left to go, so we're coming to the closing stage for him. Less than 200 metres to go, so undoubtedly he will be feeling very, very pleased about that indeed. Turning there on a 19.38.06, so with 6 lengths to go, we're going to be starting to see an increase in the pace. You can already see a little bit more white water coming from here, and the dispersed water in lane number 5 can direct you towards that. As Fraser McDonald of Hatfield, he's now approaching his final 100 metres here in lane number 5. And it would certainly look like that he is on course for a personal best. So I'm sure if his parents are watching at home, they've got their fingers crossed, maybe cheering at the live stream, the YouTube channel, whether it's on an iPad, a phone or the television. But he's now coming in, Fraser McDonald of Hatfield in lane number 5. He's coming to his final 50 metres. The official going to blow his whistle to make him aware of that in the water. Turning here, now we're really going to start to see an increase in the pace. from Fraser McDonald here. You can already see that he is going to be giving his all here at the Hertfordshire County Championships. As we turn now, and unfortunately you're not able to see this, but all of us here in the pool are turning now, so he's coming into his final 15 meters here, really powering through. Final 10 meters here, his personal best at 21:34 seconds, .74. Is that going to be a personal best for him? Oh, just off, but that concludes heat number 1. Congratulations to all of those swimmers for a fantastic race as we prepare to move on to heat number 2. As we now move on to heat number 2, over to you, referee. In lane number 1 from Hatfield we have Oliver Baskerville, he's 14. In lane 2, Hannah Lovelock, who's 14 from Hitchin. Lane number 3 is Neve O'Mara from Watford, who's 16 years old. Dylan Morris, her teammate, also 16-year-old years old, goes in lane number 4. Antonia Jubb of Hatfield, who's 17 in lane 5. George Hooper of the City of St Albans in lane number 6, he is 15, and Amy Harper, who's also 15 from Watford, is in lane number 7. So even after that 100 metres, we've got Dylan Morris, who is leading the way here, Antonia Jubb and Neve O'Mara following very, very closely behind indeed. But soon, if we haven't seen already, we'll be seeing these swimmers getting into one of the a pace of which they feel comfortable with, a pace which is hopefully going to achieve them a personal best here in the heat number 2 of the 1500 metres. It would seem that Dylan Morris's stroke in lane number 4 is starting to slow down. It's starting to get into more of a distance stroke here. A little bit more of a glide there, not as much frantic rotation as it were, but a nice comfortable kick. Antonia Jubb still in that early phase of this long distance swim, it would seem, as is Neve O'Mara in lane number 3. But of course, I think it's very easy to go out and sprint at 200 metres, the first 200 metres, but you need to be very sensible and careful and think tactically when you're swimming a 1500. What you don't want to do is you don't want to sprint the first 200 and then have little to no energy on the final 1,300. You need to make sure that you've got the right tactics, and that's why practicing pacing, doing pacing, paced 100s, paced 50s in training is really, really vital if you really want to commit to a 1500 metre as your main event. We're now a third of the way through. We're at the 500 metre mark, so 1,000 metres to go. Dylan Morris in the lead here, turning 6 minutes, 2 seconds, 0.86. Antonia Jubb is in second with 6 minutes, 8.39. So about 2 seconds between, not 2 seconds, about 6 seconds in between those two swimmers. We have Neve O'Mara who's in third, but she's very closely followed by George Hooper in lane number 6 of the City of St Albans, who is in third position here, not too far behind Antonia Jubb, only about 10 seconds behind Dylan Morris. And what you've got to bear in mind is on a 1500, that 10 seconds can be easily caught up over the next 35 lengths. But still in front is Dylan Morris in lane number 4 of Watford at the 600 metre mark. Antonia Jubb in second. George Hooper in third. And Neve O'Mara there turning in fourth with about 8 seconds between her and George Hooper, her nearest competitor, in lane number 6. But you can see there, the swimmers really have started to get into a comfortable pace, a comfortable stroke here. Dylan Morris really looking strong with 32 lengths to go at this turn. But will he be able to carry on like this? We shall soon find out. Antonia Jubb in lane number 5 of Hatfield. Her stroke is looking quite comfortable, it's looking quite moderate for a 1500. And George Hooper there in a very comfortable pace in lane number 6. Just like Antonia, it doesn't look like they're exerting too much energy, but they're moving through the water. They're moving through the water as effectively and efficiently as possible. And that's really, really important for the conservation of energy. With 750 meters to go, with already now past the halfway stage for the four swimmers, Dylan Morris, Antonia Jubb, George Hooper, and Neve O'Mara there. So undoubtedly they will have looked at the lap cards. They'll have seen that we're now into the high 20s and not the 30s, the 40s, or the 50s. And that probably will be a sigh of relief in the pool, but there won't be much cause for celebration because, of course, they have to carry on focusing on their pace, carry on focusing on ensuring that their swimming and their stroke is as effective and efficient as possible. can I please have the remaining competitors for heat number 3 of the 1500 meters freestyle? Can those competitors please make their way to the marshalling area? Thank you. Let's have a look at the scores on the doors. Dylan Morris here still leading the way. George Hooper moving up to second in lane number 6, and Antonia Jubb dropping into third here with Neve O'Mara still in fourth. But I believe we're coming on to the 1,200 meter mark here. And indeed, I received confirmation of that on the screens, as you can clearly see as well. So that, remember a few meters ago, that the gap between Dylan Morris and George Hooper was 10 seconds. That gap has now closed to about 6 seconds in between them. So 4 seconds over the course of, I would say, possibly about 400, possibly 500 meters has now dropped. So the question is, can George Hooper catch up with Dylan Morris? Can he close that 6 second gap between them in the remaining 250 meters? We shall soon see, but Antonia Jubb there, still in third position over in lane number 5, with Neve O'Mara of Watford in lane 3, still in fourth. But just take a look at Dylan Morris's stroke here in lane number 4. Really extending the glide out, really ensuring that he's conserving as much energy as possible, but still starting now to pick up the pace because there is only 200 meters, 8 lengths to go. George Hooper now really starting to make a threat to Dylan Morris on his right-hand side here. That gap has now closed to nearly, well, just under 3 seconds here. George Hooper, what a great back-end leg for him. Can he hold it with 5 lengths to go? A little look up from George Hooper just to confirm that he has indeed got 5 lengths to go. But Dylan Morris still in front here. This is going to be an incredibly exciting finish for the 1500. I think Dylan has just spotted George on his right-hand side, making a move for it. You can see that the stroke rate has started to increase, a lot more frantic, a lot more white water around the arms and the legs. But George Hooper of the City of St Albans in lane 6 really starting to move here. It is quite a possibility that he may, in fact, beat Dylan Morris, who has led the way from the start. But with 3 lengths to go, that gap of about 3 to 2 seconds here, it seems to be holding with 50 meters to go at this turn here. Can George Hooper, does he have the energy to beat Dylan Morris? Dylan's turning there, 17 minutes, 53.29. George Hooper, nearly 3 seconds behind him there. It's unlikely that this gap is going to be closed on a 50, but miracles do happen. 1 length less for these 2 gentlemen here in this heat number 2 of the 1500 meters. It's going to be very, very tight, but it does look like Dylan Morris of Watford is just going to get the touch here with only a few meters left. Final 5 meters for him. George Hooper, what a swim he's had. But Dylan Morris there, 18 minutes, 30.08 for him. That looks to be a personal best there by about 12 seconds. What a back end leg there though from George Hooper of the City of St Albans. He managed to close the gap by quite a margin. Remember, about 500, 600 meters ago, he was 10 seconds away. Over the course of that distance, he was able to cut that down to 2.1 seconds. That is a fantastic achievement for him. He touches on 18 minutes, 32.18 to get second. Antonia Jubb there, she started in second position. She held that for quite a substantial period of time, but dropped back down to third position and got the third position here, but still the fastest female we have had this morning. And indeed, it is a very early morning, as I've just received confirmation from the referee. 18 minutes 39.38 for Antonia Jubb, and Nevo Mara there constantly holding fourth position, making sure that she was focusing on that pace. That looks to be very, very close to her personal best, if not a personal best by about 10 seconds there for Nevo Mara. Amy Harper in lane number 7 of Watford touching in 5th. Oliver Baskerville over in lane number 1 of Hatfield in 6th. As we now await Hannah Lovelock in lane number 2 of Hitchin, who is possibly touching there. So congratulations, swimmers. If you wouldn't mind exiting the pool via the sides, that would be most appreciated. Do not jump or climb over the timing pads as we prepare to move on to the final heat. We move on now to the timed final of the mixed open 1500 meters freestyle. In lane number 8 from Hatfield, Samuel Jeffrey. In lane number 1 from Hatfield, Joshua Ellis. In lane number 7 from Hitchin, George Lovelock. In lane number 2, we have from Hatfield, Jamie Joshua. In lane 6 from Potters Bar, Ethan Howard.
In lane number 3 from Bishop Stortford, Jago Derrington. In lane number 5 from Potter's Bar, Jack Barnard. And in lane number 4 from Hatfield, Jason Ho. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the timed final of the mixed 1500 meter freestyle. Over to you, referee. Heat number 3, then the timed final of the 1500 meters. All of these chaps in this time final are going to be aiming to be going possibly sub 17, but who knows, we shall soon see. But of course, we're having a very strong start here after the first 50 meters. Jason Ho is in first, Jack Barnard in second, Ethan Howard in third. And the first 50, the first 100 is indeed really, really important. It really sets the tone of the race. If you feel lethargic, if you feel tired, that generally sets the tone for the rest of the race. The rest of the race will be lethargic, tired. But if you are swimming fast, if it's easy speed that you're looking for, if it's a good pace, if you're hitting that pace, if you're feeling good, if you're feeling strong, then that too is a great indication for what one would possibly assume will be a good race indeed. But of course, these swimmers know that what they're feeling in the water at the moment. Their coaches possibly will notice symptoms of that, whether or not they're feeling good or whether or not they're feeling a bit under the weather at the moment. But someone who would seem to be feeling quite good at the moment is Jason Ho in lane number 4 of Hatfield. Now, he has had quite a busy championships, appearing quite frequently on the final sheets which I receive. Second looks to be a very close run-of-the-mill between Jago Derrington and Jamie Joshua, but certainly we shouldn't discount Jack Barnard or Ethan Howard, the teammates of Potter's Bar. But at the 200 meter mark, Jason Ho's still in the lead. Now, if these gents can hold a 2:14, a 2:15, a 2:16, then they most likely will be on course to be going sub 17 minutes. But of course, the first 100 is a little bit of a distraction. Generally, what you want to do in a 1500 is you want to go out fast, you want to go out with the rest of the pack, and then find a comfortable pace. And as we've said previously, that pace will have been determined beforehand by their coaches. It will have most likely been practiced in training with paced 50s, paced 100s, even paced 200s quite possibly. But of course, what goes on in training doesn't necessarily have the same impetus as in a race. Things are a little bit different. The circumstances are of course different. But you can start to see now as we get to the 350 meter mark, it is no longer a sprint event. Firmly entrenched within the mind of these gentlemen, is that it is a distance event. They have got to swim the full 1,500 meters, and they've got to make sure they have enough energy to finish in strong form as well. Jago Derrington here, he seems to be leading the way, but Jason Ho not too far behind him, nor is Jamie Joshua, Jack Barnard or Ethan Howard there, all within reasonable striking and touching distance of one another. But of course, with 1,100 meters to go, 44 lengths to go, all that can change. Now, being a leader in a 1,500 is quite a difficult event. Obviously, you don't have anyone in front of you to chase down. You don't have anyone in front of you to pace. You do have to rely upon yourself and your own pacing and your own training. So certainly having Jason next to him, Jago is probably finding leading this race a little bit easier than it might have been if he was out in front by quite a substantial margin here. But of course, it's important that they remember that they need to keep their distance. Well, certainly Jago in lane number 3 will want Jason to keep his distance away. But Jason certainly doesn't seem to want to do that, with nearly 1.4 seconds between them. That gap has fluctuated over the last 500 meters, and we're a third of the way through here. So we are starting to get into a very, very good pace here, but it looks like that is starting to increase. That distance between them is starting to increase on this turn. It was 1.6 at the last turn. It's now about possibly 2 seconds there. Is this a trend or is this a one-off? We will have to wait and see. It's a little bit like election polling. Is it a trend or is it a one-off? But we will soon find out whether or not this gap between these two swimmers is going to grow. It has there, about 3 seconds in between them, looking more towards the back end of the race. Turning third is Jamie Joshua of Hatfield. Now he obviously can see Jago, he can see Jason most clearly to his left. He will be undoubtedly trying to catch up with them, trying to hold a comfortable pace at the same time. Fourth at the moment is Jack Barnard of Potters Bar, with his teammate Ethan Howard in 5th over in lane number 6. And it looks like Jack Barnard in lane number 5, he is turning third there, taking that position from Jamie Joshua, who turns in 4th. Ethan Howard still in 5th here, but as we have said many a time on this incredibly early Sunday morning, well, it was when I woke up, but there is still there's still all to play for here in this 1,500 meters, but Jago Derrington now, that trend of being about 3 seconds, having a 3-second gap between himself and Jason Ho, has, as I've said, turned into a trend. It's not just now a one-off thing. But at the halfway stage here, Jago Derrington of Bishop Stortford, he is in first. Jason Ho now about 4-5 seconds behind him. Jack Barnard's now in third. Jamie Joshua still in 4th position, with Ethan Howard in 5th. certainly not a bad time for an 800 metres from Jago Darrington. Jason Ho now 4 seconds. 4 seconds splits those two swimmers here in heat number 3 of the 1500 metres. Jack Barnard still in third with Jamie Joshua in fourth. But it does look like Jago Darrington, his pace on this 1500 may be starting to slow a little. You can see on his facial expression, it might not be visible on the camera, but he does start to look a little bit tired here, possibly a little bit laboured. But both of these swimmers, Jago and Jason, in 3 and 4, still looking strong, still sparring off one another. Undoubtedly, there's only 4 seconds between Jago and Jason now. Jago will be able to see on the turn and when he swims and when he breathes that Jason is not too far behind, so he ought not to slow down, as it were. Looking back towards the rest of the cohort, Jack Barnard of Potters Bar, he is still in third. That gap between him and Jason has widened substantially, specifically over the last 300 metres. I mean, quite possibly what might be happening here is Jago and Jason. Jago maybe still in front, leading the way, but as we saw on in the previous heat with George Hooper and Dylan Morris, George was 10 seconds behind at about the 600, 500 metre mark, and he ensured that actually over that course of that race, he was closing the gap. And he had a fantastic back end, particularly the last 200 metres. Now 4 seconds can be caught up within 200 metres. Possibly, as you know, you just need to split it in half. Each 100, you need to be going 2 seconds faster than your competitor. But the question will be, does Jason Ho of Hatfield have that energy within him? Or will Jago Darrington of Bishop Stortford here in lane number 3, will he be able to hold off any threat that might jeopardise his position as the leader of this 1500? .15 lengths to go for both of our leaders here. No doubt they'll be very, very pleased to see that figure indeed. But that gap still holding at about 4 seconds between Jago and Jason. Jack Barnard of Potters Bar, he is in third position. He's managed to hold off any threat from his teammate Ethan Howard in lane number 6 and Jamie Joshua in lane number 2 by quite a substantial margin, but heading back towards the front, that gap between Jago and Jason now has closed to 3 seconds. Is this a comeback? It looks like Jason is starting to make a break for it with 300 meters, well, less than that now to go. And look at that, that gap has shortened in its entirety. Look at that, not much in it at all. 0.8 if that. Jason really starting to move on this back end here. He's managed to conserve as much energy as possible, and he's really starting to make his tactical move, trying to sprint and out-sprint Jago Derrington of Potters Bar in lane number 3. And it does look like, as you can clearly see on your screen, Jason Ho of Hatfield has retaken the lead. He held it in the early stages of this race. He lost it in the middle, and now he is starting to come back. Jago Derrington now doing his absolute best to try and take back control of this lead with less than 200 meters to go. But is it too late? We shall soon find out, but it really does look like Jason Ho now. He is absolutely flying through this. He has conserved his energy. He's focused on that back end now. It would be really interesting actually to see what he splits on this final 200 meters. But that gap now between Jason and Jago, 4 seconds, the tables have turned. It is now in reverse. But 5 lengths to go. Can 4 seconds, can that gap be closed? I don't think so. That's my honest opinion. Because if you look at Jason Ho's swimming here, it really has started to increase. It's incredibly fast-paced for a final 100 meters here, and no doubt he will be emptying that fuel tank in order to, he hopes, of course, win the 1500 meters here at the Hertfordshire County Championships, and of course get a personal best, which hopefully will lead to a regional qualifying time at the Swim England East Region Championships later in the year. But the whistles are now blowing to signify that there is 50 meters to go, and it doesn't look like Jago Derrington of Bishop Stortford is going to be able to close that gap now of about 7 seconds here. Jason Ho, what a fantastic swim from him here. That back end speed really helping here. He's paced this race, he's strategically raced this race. And he is taking first here. He's going to be taking gold. 17 minutes 14.94 to get the first position there. Jago Derrington, 10 seconds nearly behind Jason Ho. He gets second position, 17 minutes 24.49. Still a commendable swim from him. And Jack Barnard of Potters Bar managing to hold off any threat from his teammate Ethan Howard in lane number 6 and Jamie Joshua in lane number 2, who touches in 4th. Ethan Howard from Potters Bar now in 5th. But going back now to the first and the second, the race between Jason and Jago, it was absolutely exhilarating. That gap of 4 seconds in the middle was always in doubt, but he managed to hold on. He managed to ensure that that distance between them wasn't too far and ensure that he was able to hunt him down and have a fantastic back end leg. So undoubtedly he will probably be wanting to rewatch that as our last swimmer touches into the wall. And that concludes the 1500 meters here at the Swim England Hertfordshire County Championships. Gentlemen, well done. If you wouldn't mind exiting the pool via the side, that would be most appreciated. And as I can hear behind me, the crowds are starting to fill up for the relays in a very short while indeed. Now that will be an incredibly fast-paced and exciting event. So, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to tune in to that event. But It's been a great pleasure to join you watching the 1500 metres at the Swim England Hertfordshire County Championship session number 11, and I look forward to welcoming you to the relay session in due course.